Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And this movie came out in 1969, and this movie stars George Lazenby as James Bond, the first Bond film that did not include Sean Connery as James Bond. He was recast, and this movie is, out of all of the James Bond movies that I've seen, my least favorite. And I kind of hate this movie. I really did not take away much from it. I found it to be incredibly boring, way too long for what it is. Like, it's close to 2.5 hours for no reason. I don't understand why it needed to exceed 2 hours by this much, because it definitely didn't add to the film. There was not one single action scene in this entire film that was memorable to me. There are some fun concepts for action scenes, but in execution, there's just nothing to take away. There's just so much to be desired from these action scenes, and the green screen just doesn't help at all. It always takes me out of the movie every time I see it, and when we're in the non-action scenes, things are shot well enough to where I can say, yeah, it's not annoying at the very least. And it does get a bit more entertaining once we get to the mountain, because before that point I was incredibly bored by this movie and was just waiting for something to happen, and a good chunk of this movie is just nothing happening. I couldn't stand it at all. But I will say this much, I didn't mind George Lazenby as James Bond. He works just fine in the role. I didn't think he was bad. I don't think he's nearly as good as Sean Connery. Just keep that in mind. I feel as though Sean Connery just adds so much to the serious moments and the, I guess, comedic moments, and you being able to buy into the fact that women are attracted to him, or like he's a ladies' man, or he's just able to get women to like him. But in this movie, I get the impression that George Lazenby can get along with people, but I didn't really buy him too much as a character outside of, yeah, he's a spy and he can do his job really well. But getting people to like him just because of him being charismatic and likable, I wasn't really buying it all that much. I just feel as though that left much to be desired. The action in this movie sucked pretty much the entire time. I thought there were too many cuts, and the way they were edited together, there was a lot of information that was just missing on the editing room floor. Maybe it just didn't look right in post, so they just cut it out. And as a result, we have a bunch of action scenes that have so much choppy editing, and they just feel as though they're incomplete or thrown together. And it never once feels as though I'm watching an action scene. I'm just watching someone try to stitch together an action scene. And that is not good. And this movie is directed by Peter R. Hunt, and this was his first directorial debut. First feature film he ever directed, and unfortunately it's not a very good first feature film in my opinion. It just doesn't offer me anything, and there's no charm to it. There's no, like, oh, you gotta be scrappy and make something together. It just feels like a studio film and nothing more. I never once got a sense of the director having control over the project. It just feels like they got someone who was a director for hire, and that's why it was directed by him. I wasn't big on the updated James Bond theme. I just didn't feel as though it added to the film really at all, but that was like a tiny thing that was early on in the film. I was like, okay, I can overlook this. And just like the previous movie, this movie decides to use the James Bond theme during an action scene, and I just don't feel as though that adds to anything, because it just feels as though, yes, James Bond is destined to win this battle. That's the implication that I was getting from it, and it was very distracting for me. I didn't care about any of the characters in this movie. The romance also felt forced. There was no reason for you to care about anything, because none of it was properly developed, and none of it was interesting to me. And because of this, what am I left with? Just a film that has characters that you are supposed to already like, I guess? I don't know. I just wasn't taking away anything from it, and this movie kind of felt like a romance spy thriller, but not necessarily going in with the mindset of, oh, we're making a James Bond movie right now. that was the impression that I took away from this movie, is that it didn't really feel as though it wanted to be a James Bond movie. Like, if you took away the character James Bond away from this movie, the movie would be no different. It wouldn't change anything. And I just feel as though the overall film would be impacted no more or less because of that. And also, just from the way this movie approached everything that James Bond movies have done already, it just felt incredibly tame. Like, in terms of how James Bond interacts with other characters, or the action scenes, or the story, or the amount of fun that were supposed to be taken away from this movie. It all just felt incredibly tame and taking itself way too seriously. Not that James Bond movies, they can't take themselves seriously, but I do feel as though this movie could have benefited a bit more if the tone was a bit lighter. And overall, I just found this movie to be incredibly boring and just a very hollow experience that I never wish to revisit again. So skip this movie if you ever come across it. I think it's quite possibly the worst James Bond movie as of recording this, but we'll see what happens. Apparently there's some worse ones to come, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So with all that being said, I'm going to give On Her Majesty's Secret Service a 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Lady Killers. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.